Yes, viewer, you read that title correctly. Why are fighting games gay?
Like, just to reiterate, specifically, why do fighting games over any other type of game seem to have the most diverse cast?
While there are many games that have great representation of LGBTQ plus and other groups, fighting games seem to not only have great cast with representation, but also the communities around these games as well.
But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into this topic.
Let's do it. And with that, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Fast Quest podcast, where we talk about video games and more. I'm your host, Guy, joined by my fellow co-host, Brewer.
Hello.
Connor.
Hello.
Alright, little special topic we're talking about today. Something we usually don't do, but I'm actually really excited to talk about today. Very niche thing in gaming, but something that is like really rising is just, I would say, like a good diversity, especially in gaming, especially with fighting games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I feel like that's definitely evolved into like what we're seeing right now with a lot of like communities in fighting games are very good, like portion of them are do associate with like other ethnicities, especially I know like for a big scene in like Smash Brothers, at least I know that there's a very big Hispanic audience. I know that, but like going away from like ethnicities, one of the biggest things that I think is just really interesting is like the sexualities and genders and how like it's much more diverse in that area with fighting games.
Yeah, I think it's like I think it's just a thing with fighting games is like they've just always had this sort of feeling of like bringing people from different walks of life together to compete and stuff like that. I mean, like taking an example like Street Fighter sort of always been about that, where, well, not exactly about like more towards LGBT and stuff, but that's always sort of been focused on like all these strong, powerful warriors from across like the world coming together to test their strength against each other. And so I think it's a really good way to like just bring a bunch of different representation and different viewpoints of and perspectives of different people into one game. And I think that's a good reason why like a lot of different fighting games have like very diverse casts.
Yeah. Well, in general with fighting games, they want their cast to be diverse, not only with their movesets, but like characters people really get attached to as well. So them trying to show as many different cultures, but also portray as many sexualities as possible as well, is a good way to make sure there's always going to be a character that like, if someone picks up the game, just like any random person, they'll identify with some part of the cast as like, hey, I really like this character. I really like what they display with their culture, or I sympathize with them as well in some ways.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's partly why, like, I think, like, for example, Guilty Gear, why it has an immense, like, a very huge portion of it is very LGBT, just due to how many characters they have that are a part of that community.
Yeah, I think like a really big thing is that like the developers are like very like supportive, and like I would say they're very like, how do I put this? They're also very like they're good motivators for you to like want you to get into their game, because not only do they like not care about your background or whatnot, but they want you to embrace that, and they're doing that not only like with the community, but also like with the characters that they're creating. And I think that's just a very big reason as to why like we have like fighting game communities that are so diverse.
It also just makes sense from like a business perspective, because it's like the more people that you try to represent and include, the more sales you'll have. Because there'll be people who are like, oh, that character's like me, I might buy this game so I can play as that character and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think with fighting games as well, when you look at their history as well, because like fighting games haven't always been like super popular. They're in a very good state right now, modern day, to where like it's a lot more normal for people to like play them casually. But I'd say like maybe a decade ago, or even maybe longer than that, it wasn't as normal. Fighting games, like the community around them smelled like more smaller groups. So I think that's why a lot of people like in LGBTQ plus communities and whatnot could like what's the best word for this? I think they could feel a lot of similarities to like joining the community with fighting games, just because there are groups that aren't always like be able to be open, be themselves, or like be always in the spotlight. Fighting games have been kind of niche.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is a good point to bring up. Like, fighting games have always been niche, but like, I think that's like they play to their strength in that aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Connor?
I was just agreeing with Brewer.
Gotcha.
But I I think I think we should just sort of go into like certain games that have these like, you know, characters and stuff like that like, you know, obviously represent the LGBT community, because a lot of modern games have really like they're a lot more open to actually including these characters due to just how the landscape has changed.
Okay, I think the
for
first
sure.
one we should bring up, because it's the one that has it in spades, is Guilty Gear.
Yeah,
Especially because I think I showed you guys this like a couple days ago. Did you guys see that like tournament where like
Yes.
a lot of people had flags and stuff to represent like countries and stuff are from, but you could also put flags for like representing your sexuality, and like the whole top 8 was like it, like everyone had a trans flag. It was like, okay, that's that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I remember you showing that to me. It's really funny, but also really cool.
Yeah.
Like, because I think you really can't have this conversation without talking about Guilty Gear, because it's just like it is the like, besides like really the only one that I could think like even holds a candle to Guilty Gear in terms of like having an LGBT audience is like dead ass probably Smash Brawl. Because for some reason a lot of fucking like just LGBT people play Smash Brawl. Or is it Melee? I always get those two confused. I can't remember if it's Brawl or Melee.
Probably Melee,
think-
because there's a bigger community around Melee in general.
It's
Brawl doesn't really have much of a scene anymore.
Probably Melee. I always get those two confused. It's probably Melee.
Honestly, I'd argue Ultimate more, because like the community is just the biggest, and also it's just like, to me, it just feels like with Smash, like obviously the community has its faults, but like one thing it has in like strives is like a lot of diversity in terms of like people. I don't know. I think I've seen that more with Ultimate than Melee, but then again, I am more active in the Ultimate scene than I am the Melee scene.
I was about to say, bro, you're running a club president. You're club president for a Smash Ultimate club president.
Yeah, you definitely have the qualifications to be to be saying a lot of that.
To be biased.
Yes, I am all biased. Woohoo!
See, what the viewers don't know is that Smash Ultimate is actually Guy's favorite game, because why else would you run why else would you be president of a club for a game if you didn't like that game?
Yeah, I think one thing to mention with Smash
Yeah.
Ultimate, with like it being very diverse, it is interesting just because like if you look at the cast, it doesn't have like characters that are diverse in sexuality. The only ones I could really think of to note is like some of the Fire Emblem characters like Byleth are bisexual just because of the choices you can make in their games. But even then, with Smash's like very diverse roster in terms of like all the different games it pulls from. It pulls from games that like no matter how you see yourself or portray yourself, you're gonna love those games regardless, just because they're great games.
Oh, for sure. I also feel like, another big thing as to why like the Smash community itself is also like very diverse in terms of like gender orientation and sexuality is because like people love like the characters. Like no matter what, if you play Smash Bros, the characters on the roster, at least a few of them have to be from some of your favorite games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to
No.
like hate video games to not like have a single character in Smash Bros that you don't like in some sort of way.
I don't like any character in Smash Brothers Ultimate.
And
This
you
is
live
why-
under a rock.
You live under a rock, you will not be happy. Boom. But yeah, no, that's a thing though. It's just I feel like a big portion of that is just like Smash Bros. Ultimate especially is so applicable to people that like literally anyone can like come in to it and enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Smash works well because it's also not just always for competitive use. people like to just play it casually as well, especially with the items and stuff, all the different stages and modes. It's a game that tries to appeal to as many people as possible, even if in some ways that has made the competitive scene suffer a little bit. Steve.
Minecraft Steve, the scourge of the world. But yeah, no.
I hate that character.
Yeah, I think it's just really cool how we're just getting a lot more like representation and stuff like that in modern fighting games too. Especially in like places where you wouldn't normally expect them, like for example, like Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Like, you know, like at least to me, that's franchise always seemed like it, not that it's like, you know, outwardly like homophobic or anything, but it's just like it wouldn't really care about putting that stuff in there because it's all about, you know, the blood and the violence and the, you know, being super edgy and stuff like that, blah blah blah, whatever. But in Mortal Kombat 1 or Mortal Kombat 12, or whatever you want to call it, they actually do have 2 lesbian characters, which I think is really awesome.
Oh yeah, Tanya Molina, right?
Yeah. Oh wait, and also weven before that, honestly, because I forgot about Mortal Kombat X. Who's that character guy?
I think his name is Jin. I know who you're talking about.
The guy who isn't he the guy? Is he the archer or the chain dude?
No, it's the archer. Kung Jin.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you
Yes,
know
I
more.
you're talking- no, he was he is like outwardly gay.
Yeah, I couldn't remember because you know you've actually played Mortal Kombat X, so I just could not remember.
No, yeah, that's actually a really big thing with his story arc is that like he I forget what it is, but it's like I know Raiden he was like stealing something from Raiden and then that's when they like talked about it. I think they did it in like a subtle way that me as a kid just didn't like realize it, but as an adult I'm like, oh.
I see.
But yeah, no, very much.
Yeah. And I just think that's really cool.
No, for sure. Then we have like some other examples from like Street Fighter 6. We have some of these are like it's cool that they include them, but like some of the context in which it occurs in is also just kind of funny. Marissa from Street Fighter 6 is pansexual and poly, but the reason for that is because she's romantically interested in whoever is the strongest, like physically.
Which is really funny.
It is like literally like one of the plot points in her arcade mode is that she's trying to go and marry Zangief because he's the strongest there is.
Who wouldn't want to marry Zangief?
Even Zangief wants
Oh,
to
literally.
Even Zangief wants to marry Zangief. Sorry, I'm referencing
Dubus Goobus video.
Yes, the Dubus Goobus video with Chun-Li's thighs, because
Congratulations, Zangief.
oh,
Thank you, Zangief Alt-Skin 9. Shall we make out in a battle of the tongues?
yes, Zangief. And then just plays.
Yes,
Something Russian song.
It's so funny.
literally.
Also,
You know, that's actually. Oh,
I'm
what? You
surprised-
first.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Cammy being lesbian or like potentially lesbian.
Okay, yeah, this is like a slight implication that Cammy White, throughout like the story modes, I don't know like all of Street Fighter lore, because frankly, if you do know all of lore of a fighting game, then like congrats to you, because I cannot keep up with that. But there's like a slight implication that Cammy might be at least bisexual, because like she has like a really close relationship with I think one of the other like agents of Bison. I think, I don't know like the full lore behind it, but like there was like slight implications there, but I know that's never been confirmed or whatnot, because like Cammy's never been like in an outwardly romantic relationship, so there's just no telling. But that's something that's been speculated for a while.
Yeah, and I think like obviously there are times where like you have to sort of do that implication stuff, especially like back in the day where it had to be like sort of subtle and stuff like that. But it's really cool how we're just like having the ability to actually be more outward with these stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I mean, this goes further than just fighting games. A lot of games in general, like, had messages or subtle tones that they like kind of had to scrub out, especially when they got localized for different regions. That now I think we're starting to see more of them just actually show, because
Like
it's not as penalized anymore. It's good to be open about this stuff.
like Vivian from Paper Mario in the
Oh yeah, no, definitely, that's a great example.
like that was a story, like a character that got like very very like screwed over by the localizations in like the old version.
Mm-hmm.
But now in the remake, or like, is it a remake or like?
I'm pretty sure they called it a remake.
Yeah, in the remake, it's like very in your face about like Vivian is a trans character, and I think that's just like really awesome that especially coming from like Nintendo of all companies.
Yeah, one of the big,
Yeah,
probably the
that
biggest
is
gaming
cool.
giant right now.
Yeah, but do we like want to go more into like, I guess, the communities behind the games too? Because like those are also very important. So like points to bring up, because I know we talked about it earlier, but like maybe going more in depth.
What do you want to talk about it?
I guess I was just like, I don't know. I just think it's really cool how like obviously no community is perfect, but like where the fighting game community is like, at least from an outside perspective, seems to be like one of the more accepting, I guess, communities when it comes to people of the like Pride community, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still not perfect. I mean, there's still a lot of work to go. I think that is the important thing to remember with all of this. Like, there's still a lot of progress that could be made. We've gotten at a very good spot, but that doesn't happen without continuous work from groups as a whole to make sure that the stuff like this actually happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, another thing I'd like to bring up with the communities is also just beyond even people who are just super invested in the games, just like more of the casual community as well, but then also like people's headcanons about certain characters, or like characters they identify with just because like, oh my god, this one has a really cool design. I think they maybe identify this way, but also just like cool art that's made for the characters as well, that has them showing certain types of support towards different groups. I think stuff like that goes a long way as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, it's crazy how like we're living in a world now where it's like, this is something that is just like it is a thing of just like people are out and about and they're being who they are, and that's just awesome. But I also like that like a lot of devs nowadays are also just taking the incentive to make sure that these people feel like they can be themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's just like, the thing is that like, it's kind of crazy in retrospective that like it was kind of like not looked like highly upon at first, like, because like we have grown up in the age of like of acceptance, and we've grown up in like in an era of like, well, for the most part, of like acceptance, and like people are allowed to be who they are. And it's just like, I think it's really crazy how like it's not just a real life thing, it also applies to like our video games and like what we like, and like what we digest in our video games and like media and whatnot. And I'm glad we get to talk about it now.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah, definitely.
But do you think? I think we've sort of talked about all we could for this, frankly, like pretty silly question. I think we've answered it in a very good way. Do we want to move on to our closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'm down.
I suppose so.
Do you guys mind if I go first?
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Where do I even really start? Like, I think it's just really awesome that, as we've said throughout this video, it's just really awesome that we're in a sort of time where we can be like, people can be open about this stuff, and we can our games can reflect that, because I think, and not even just talking about like sexuality and stuff like that, but if just the more people are able to see themselves within games, especially like more popular games like fighting games, because fighting games have gotten a lot more popular over the years, I think the more people that are actually able to see themselves within these communities and stuff like that, the better. And so I think it's really cool that we're starting to see more of that stuff, like pop up and stuff like that. And I just think it's really cool how, just such a, I guess I'll say, unique genre of games is able to have just an incredible audience.
Yeah, very well said.
Oh yeah, would you like to go next, Brewer?
Sure, I'll go next. I don't have too much to say beyond what I've already said in the video, but I just want to say I think it's great that we're getting so many games, and even just beyond fighting games in general, beyond just this topic, that have a great amount of representation to different groups for characters people can just identify with, and they can sympathize with, empathize with, just feel like they can actually feel a deeper connection to, because, we're all very different, we live very different lives, so having a bunch of different characters to reach out to those issues, I think is a great thing to help people get more invested in their games, but also maybe to give other people who can't exactly see those parts of their life in that way, give them a different perspective on how others live as well. And I think with fighting games, specifically the one we were talking about, I think it's great that communities they built up around it with the characters, the cast, and just the people surrounding the games. So, like I mentioned before, I think I just love to see if developers keep doing this, but also if people themselves just keep pushing for this, because I think it's a great thing. But again, there still is a lot of progress that could be made for things to be even better in the future. Those are my thoughts on it.
Yeah, well put, man. No, well put. Same with Brewer. There's a lot to be said here that I've already said. But just some general thoughts. I'm really glad that we got to talk about fighting games in this way, because fighting games are such a unique genre in terms of how they present themselves and how they can appeal to players. And I feel like because we are living in these modern times of more acceptance, we have the ability to just appeal to more people through their sexualities and gender orientation. And I just think it's a really cool thing to see, especially with people who might not have felt accepted in the past, but now may feel it now. And fighting games helping bridge that gap between truly creating a more equal world. You know what I mean? I just think that's really cool, because having your media support you and not judge you for who you are, it's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, definitely. We should all be able to live how we want to, and having our games, our favorite mediums, support us in that way is awesome as well. I think with that though, I think we're getting at that point where we have to thank the viewers, thank all of you for watching. We want to thank you real quick for for watching, and please like and subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on the video. And this is Fetch Quest.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.